Hi, I'm Karen.
And I'm Renee. Welcome to the baking show. And today we're going to make something that's kind of a favorite of mine. It is a stuffed bread. Some people call it a Stromboli, some people just call it a stuffed bread. And you can serve it as an appetizer, or you can use it with a salad and have it for dinner.
It's delicious. It's one of my favorites too, whenever you make it. Okay, good. So the ingredients. So Renee, can you walk us through the ingredients?
Yes. Okay, here we have 3 1/3 cups of flour, but it has to be bread flour. And my preference is to use King Arthur's because they have a really good bread flour. Next, we have a 1/4 teaspoon of active yeast. We have 2 teaspoons of salt. We have a 1.5 cups of lukewarm water. And then later in the recipe, after the bread rises, we're going to fill it with sausage, Italian sausage. I prefer sweet. You can use hot, any kind you like. I have 6 links that I've ground up, and then I have 1 pound of mozzarella cheese.
So I'll help you assemble it. We need the flour first.
Right? We're just going to dump everything in the one bowl.
Okay.
And just pour in.
Don't breathe. It's always the hardest part about a mixer.
I know, bowls never fit the openings when you're putting stuff in. Okay, just pour all the ingredients in.
So it doesn't matter with this yeast, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Is this rapid rise yeast?
No, it's just regular active yeast.
Oh, okay, great.
And now we take the water, 1.5 cups, pour it in.
The whole thing, huh? Okay, there we go.
And then we're just going to mix it together. Now when you mix this, you are going to mix this just till it comes together. Because we have to let the water hydrate the yeast and the flour. So we're going to let it just mix till it comes together, then we're going to let it rest for 15 minutes, and then we're going to beat it again. Great? Okay, so this is what it looks like when the yeast just comes together. It starts to form a ball, but it's not soft and glossy, but it's all mixed. You don't see any little crumbs on the bottom. So now we're going to let this rest. We're going to cover this bowl with a towel and let it rest for 15 minutes. We're back. The dough's been resting for 15 minutes, and now we're ready. It's all hydrated. So we're going to beat it again till it gets soft and smooth, and that's going to be for about 3 to 5 minutes.
Renee, how can you tell when the dough is ready?
Well, let me take a piece out and you can feel it. It has a nice, soft, silky texture, and it's not really like sticky. A little tiny bit sticky, but it's not like it comes off with your hand. And it has a nice satiny feel, and you had a nice tip for that it kind of feels like your earlobe.
Your earlobe, right, exactly.
Which is perfect. There might be a little bit, looks like there's maybe a little bit of bumps or lumps in it.
Right, I can feel that.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's supposed to be like that. Good. That's the way the dough is. If it is too dry, though, then you might want to add a little bit of water. I would say a teaspoon at a time. If it's too wet and it doesn't look like this and it's stickier, you want to add a flour, and I would do a tablespoon at a time.
Perfect. Great. So it's ready to go then?
It is ready to go. Okay, the next step is to take the dough out of here, and we're going to put it in our bowl, which we've already greased with olive oil.
And for brand new cooks, when we say grease a bowl, literally you just are spreading some kind of a grease or oil over the entire bowl so that it doesn't stick.
Right, and what you want to use with this is you want to use olive oil. It gives it like a nice flavor. So, so you take the dough, make a nice ball with it, and then when you put it in, you turn it around in the oil and you flip it over so that this way it doesn't dry out. And then we're just going to cover it with some plastic wrap, and we are going to let it rise till double its size, which is probably going to be about 2 to 4 hours for this dough, depending on the rate. Alrighty, our dough has risen, and we have it out of the oven. Now this dough is not, you can see that it's nice and puffy, but it's not the type of dough that's going to rise to the top of the bowl, like when we do cinnamon rolls or some other types of breads, you get that big rise. This one just gets nice and light and puffy, and you can see it gets a little bit bigger, but not a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half, and we are going to use half for this recipe, and the other half, because this makes 2 loaves, but we're only doing 1 today, so you can take it and freeze it. So we shape it into a nice round tight ball. Then you're just going to put it on your plastic, and you're going to put a little bit of flour that we're going to sprinkle on the top. And the reason for that is just so that when it's freezing, the plastic doesn't stick to it.
Very good.
And there you go. Just wrap that up, and it's ready for the freezer.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to take our second piece of dough and we're just going to shape it. So it's kind of almost like a pizza dough, but it's going to be kind of in a rectangle shape. So I just like to let the weight of the dough pull itself out, and get it going.
Definitely a sign that it's rested because it is so pliable. You can just do whatever you want with it.
And then we're going to pull it a little bit apart in the center. And then what I usually do is like to put it down and then just gently start stretching it.
I noticed you did not flour your board.
No, you really don't need to with this. It doesn't really stick to the board, so it's really pretty good. So you want to stretch it out so you get it kind of even and in a rectangular, sort of rectangular shape. And when it's thin enough, and you don't want it so thin that there's going to be holes in it. Okay, so just so that you get all the edges kind of thin, put it out. And then we're going to put our fillings inside.
Wonderful.
So this is about as far as this one's going to go. We're going to take, I like sausage, so you can use hot or sweet. And what I did was just boil the sausage and then ground it up. You can also buy the ground sausage, that works just as well.
So this came in the links, you take the skin off.
This came in the links, right.
And then you brown it after you take the skin off.
You don't need to brown it at all, you just boil it. Because it's just going to be cooked in the middle of the...
Oh, very good.
But you already pre-cooked the sausage, you don't want to put raw sausage in here.
It almost looked brown, so great.
And we just scatter that over. Now I use 6 links. You can use a little more, a little less. I think this is plenty. We might not even use all. Okay, now the good thing about this bread is you can put anything in it. You can put pepperoni. You can put, I've made it with sun-dried tomatoes and mozzarella cheese. So any combination. And you can even do half. Like you can do half the loaf pepperoni, half sausage, and they all go. Next comes the cheese, shredded mozzarella. And you can use other cheeses in this. I just happen to really like mozzarella, so every time I use it, I just put mozzarella in.
Do you have to let the cheese sit at room temperature, or do you keep it in the refrigerator?
You can keep it in the fridge. You can let it go to room temperature. Either way, it doesn't really work. And I'm one of those people that also likes a lot of cheese.
Me too.
My husband's always telling me I'm putting too much cheese in here.
My nickname is Cheese Hound. So yeah, can't do it. Can't overdo it.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, so that looks about good. This was a pound of mozzarella, and as you can see, I'm not using it all. I'm probably using half pounds.
Great.
Okay, and the next step is to roll this up.
Okay.
So we just take it by the end, and you want to start, and we're just going to roll it like a log. And one of the things that you want to do is just pull it a little bit and roll, and you pull a little bit and roll. Okay, we're going to roll this all the way up. And some of your stuffing, if you've stuffed it, is going to come out a little bit, but that's okay. And then I usually take the ends, and you want to make sure that you seal it.
Right.
Okay, so
pinch a little bit.
You want to, exactly right, you want to pinch it in so that it forms. And then you want to make sure that the ends of the dough are together. So you just want to fold them over as well.
It doesn't
have to be anything pretty. So after we put this together, you turn it over so it's seam side down, and then you cover it. It can be with plastic, it can be with a towel, doesn't matter. But you need to cover it so the dough doesn't dry out. And we're going to let it sit and rest for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes is up. We're going to uncover it now. We're going to take this and put it on a cookie sheet that we have prepared with parchment paper. So we're going to cover this with olive oil, not too heavy, just light. This gives it a nice brown color. And a thing you might want to do is when you're cooking this is put some tin foil, aluminum foil, in the bottom of the oven, because sometimes this drips. There might be some grease coming out of it, and this will save you some cleanups. Also, you want to cook this on a stone, a baking stone. I mean, if you don't have it, it's not absolute. You can cook it in the oven on this, but I prefer to put it on the baking stone because that helps get the bottom crust nice and brown. You're going to cook it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want to make sure your stone has been preheated in the oven for about 40 minutes to an hour before you put it in.
Nice and hot.
Nice. We're ready to pop it in the oven. The stone, there's my baking stone. It's nice and hot. We're going to take this and just slide it off of here and onto the stone. And one other little tip that we have is before you shut that oven is if you spray just a little water along the sides of the oven to create a little steam and a little moisture that will help make the crust a little crustier. So this is the way the bread looks when it comes out of the oven. It's got a nice crust to it. And don't be upset if it breaks a little bit and the cheese oozes out, because that usually happens, especially if you put a lot of cheese in there. This is the final product.
I'm coming in for this shot.
Okay, and we're gonna let Karen take a taste and she can give you her reaction.
Oh my gosh, I have tasted this before. I'm drooling, it's so good. So savory, wonderful. You're a good cook.
Oh, thank you. So give it a try. And besides an appetizer that you can serve for the holidays, you can also have a nice tossed salad, a bottle of wine, and this, and it makes a lovely dinner. And you're good to go.
I'll take that.
Okay, enjoy.